Hello and happy Friday, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm meteorologist Lexie O'Connor, joined with Terry Eliasen, who is our weather producer for our next weather team.
I just realized we're both wearing red. You obviously planned that. I actually didn't, but that works.
I figured you did.
I did. Yes, of course I did.
I wore the pink sweater in and then the red dress.
Okay.
For
you are
this
prepared.
afternoon show. Yeah, Valentine's is a big holiday in my household, so.
I bet it is.
And we are tracking a big weather week, another big
never ends.
weekend.
It never ends. The beat goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so this morning, I don't know about your driveway, but mine was. I thought it was clear, but it's ice everywhere.
Yep.
I just can't get rid of it. It's so hard. Trying to throw rock salt all over the place. So now we're about to put another layer of snow and ice and slop on top of it.
Yep, some more snow, and then the extra coating of that freezing rain and everything coming this weekend, especially Sundays.
Let's get to it. Yeah, let's get to it. So we are in it seems like we're just always in a weather alert these days, but plowable snow coming on in Saturday night. And much like every other storm we've had lately, it seems like we're getting like the snow to start and then ice and rain coming in after.
Yeah.
Just makes for a mess.
Yes, it would be nice if it all stayed that light, fluffy snow, but that is not going to happen with this one. So here's a look at what we know. It's plowable snow to start on Saturday night into Sunday morning. And then Sunday, looks like during the morning hours, sometime I'd say between 7 to 9 a.m. is when we'll start to see that change over to some icing from that snow. So we'll go from snow to some freezing rain, and then closer to the coast, eventually changing to rain on Sunday. So Sunday looks very messy, but Saturday night into Sunday morning, we will get a good amount of snow. So plowable snow, several inches, and with that snow melt, we could see also some localized flooding because we already have had a good amount of snow, and with some warmer air coming in, we'll get some melting in addition to some rain, and that wintry mix on Sunday could have some flooding also.
This is one of those things that kind of depends on where you live. Like if you're along the coast over southeastern Mass, you're not so worried about the snow, but you're worried about like the rain coming in and getting giant puddles everywhere. If you're 128 to 495, you're worried about, okay, now I'm getting some snow, I'm getting some ice on top. If you're farther out in Worcester County, you're like just worried about how much ice am I going to get and how much is going to accrete on everything. But anyhow, winter storm watch is up from the National Weather Service from Saturday night through Sunday night. So winter storm watch, basically most of the time they issue this for areas where they think there's a chance of at least 6 inches of snow. I would say there is that chance in most of that area, but it also has a lot to do with the icing this time too. So it's kind of like a twofold issue in the concerns, and it's kind of hard to find the storm. I mean, there's a whole bunch of clouds out in the Midwest, but there's not an obvious like major storm on the map right now. At least not yet.
And especially, I mean, looking outside right now, it's a beautiful, nice sunny day. And yeah, even on the map, like we don't really see that storm having really formed and developed quite yet. But once it gets here, it's going to be, I'd say, pretty nasty.
Yeah,
that's how I'm calling it this weekend.
And this is fairly typical. Like these storms, they come in they come in off the West Coast. And actually, I think we have some video from yesterday when it came through California. Typically, they come through California, they cause some issues, they break up over the Rockies, and then they get their act together as they hit the East Coast again. But yeah, California's been getting a whole lot of rain lately. Look at that. A whole different set of issues than what we'll be dealing with
and
tomorrow.
Too much, like at once. You know, they had the fires, they need some rain, but it's like just too much with these storm systems.
And there's another one in the pipeline, which we'll talk about later, but basically almost every one of these storms, they start out in the Pacific Ocean, they slam into the West Coast, they kind of break up a little bit in the Midwest, and they get their act together and, end up exiting the East Coast or through New England as, a mix of snow and rain and ice. But let's talk timeline. That's an all-important timeline.
So for anyone with Valentine's Day plans, it looks fine for today, tonight, and even for a good chunk of tomorrow. It's not until tomorrow evening that we'll start to see some of the first flakes falling. It's starting as snow. Tomorrow we're going to be mainly just in the mid and upper 20s to around 30 degrees. So it's all snow as it starts Saturday night during the evening hours and then into Saturday night. And then this is around 7 o'clock Sunday morning. That's when we'll start to see that changeover from the snow to some freezing rain, possibly a little bit of sleet mixing in, especially in the northern, the hills, the Worcester Hills, and then changing over to rain as you go into southern Mass and closer to the coast. So through the day on Sunday, this is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's going to be messy. Now across especially the interior, especially northern Worcester County, looks to stay right around freezing for most of Sunday. So I do think that freezing rain is going to be a major issue there in northern parts of central Mass. And then as you move south, it's mainly rain. But it's that mix of the freezing rain on top of the snow that is going to make this storm just not fun to deal with. And freezing rain, it might look like it's raining outside, but if you have any plans traveling on Sunday with temperatures right around the freezing mark, that leads to some very icy roads. That's freezing rain.
Yeah, so freezing rain is essentially it comes down as plain old rain, but the temperatures right at the ground level, right at the surface level, are below freezing. So you're right, it's tricky. Like you might be in the Worcester County area or north or western Middlesex County area on Sunday and like, oh, it's just rain, but it's actually freezing on contact. So if you're out and about, and any untreated surface really will be at risk for, getting ice accretion on Sunday. So very tricky storm. And then behind it, and we'll get to this in a minute, there's no immediate melting going on. There's no great news. It's really just another blast of cold behind it.
Yeah, we get a little break Monday and Tuesday in the start of the week, but from the snow and the storm, but it's going to be cold and windy.
Yeah, so basically anywhere in that pinkish, purplish color, if you live in that area, you're probably never going to get any plain old rain. It might look like rain on Sunday, but it's falling and the temperatures are going to be mostly below freezing. So again, eastern Mass, the concern is some flooding, and anywhere from probably west of I-95, certainly west of 495, it's snow right over to ice. And try to move that stuff around. If you got a shovel on Sunday night, just take your time. It's going to be just the cement, very heavy, wet, not fun stuff.
Yeah, so here's our snow map, and you can see we're going to get some snow before we see that change over to freezing rain and rain. Even for Boston, we're in that 2 to 4 inch range, closer to Cape Cod and the islands, just a coating to 2 inches, and then you change over to rain. But especially north and west of the city, 4 to 8 inches. That's some definitely plowable snow, and then on top of that, we're getting a little bit of freezing rain and possibly maybe even some sleet mixing in too, especially in the higher elevations. So plowable snow and heavy snow.
Similar totals to, if folks can remember all the way back to last Sunday, we've had so many little storms in between, but like last Sunday, there were a lot of folks that got 4, 5, 6 inches. So up in that region, the dark blue region, similar types of snow totals to last Sunday. But again, last Sunday it was just snow and it ended. You cleaned it up. It was sort of fluffy, no big deal. This time it's going to be much harder to clean up because the precip just keeps going. It's a much longer duration event.
Exactly. I mean, we're starting Saturday evening and then we're lasting all the way into Sunday evening. It wraps up finally. So it's a longer duration storm, kind of a messier storm, I would say.
Yes.
When you combine the freezing rain and that wintry mix on top of this snow, not going to be fun to clean up. Not
going to be fun. And this is, I thought, worth mentioning that we still have not had a storm with 6 inches or more in Boston since 2022. So we're nearing 3 years since that happened. And so what would you say, if you had to guess a number, just a number for Boston, this storm? I don't think, it certainly wouldn't be 6 inches. We're not forecasting that. Throw a number out. What do you think Boston ends up with?
I'm thinking like between 3 and 4.
Yeah. I think that's reasonable. It's very unlikely that we break this record this weekend in Boston. So the beat will probably go on for a little while longer. It's just remarkable that it's been 3 years since Boston's had 6 inches. It's a long time.
We've had these like little ones, especially this month.
Absolutely.
Haven't hit that 6 inch mark yet.
Yeah, and so here's to me, like the snow is one thing. For me, this is probably the biggest concern overall with this storm is the freezing rain and the ice potential. Again, this is basically all day Sunday. You can see that dark, so the coloration, the darker purples are basically a forecast of at least 1/10 an inch of ice accretion. And when we say accretion, it's basically like when you see a power line or a tree branch and it's got that ice coating around it. So we think at least 1/10, if not up to a 1/4 inch of thickness on that. And that just weighs down on everything. The tree branches will be sagging out in those areas. Could lead to some power outages. I think thankfully there's no wind to exacerbate the problem. That's probably the saving grace.
So thankfully we don't have to worry about the wind, but when you're thinking about the heavy snow and then some ice on top of that, especially where we have the purple spots of around a 1/4 inch of ice accretion, that's where I wouldn't be surprised if we get some tree limbs that are kind of weighed down by that, and we could see some power outages. So this is a great graphic, Terry. You put this together for the power outage risk. You can see where there's the orange, that's expecting some or potentially some scattered power outages, isolated outages in yellow there. So again, wind not a big factor with this storm, but because we're talking about some ice on top of the snow, it's never good news when you're thinking about power lines.
Yep, everything's going to be sagging and weighed down. And I threw this in, it's a little misleading because this is the total precipitation. So in some areas like the Cape and Plymouth, 1.5 to 2 inches of just water. Like that's the biggest. We have not had like a storm this juicy in quite some time. Most of our storms are in and out quickly, and we're getting maybe 1/2 inch of liquid. This one is loaded with moisture. So basically everybody gets at least 1 inch of precipitation. Some folks will get that in the form of snow and ice, others mostly rain. But just to say it's a lot of liquid, probably some localized flooding going on in areas where there's snow melt or just rain. I mean, how many times when we say it's just messy? It's just, so that's a kind of another facet. And then, again, we talked about the cold a little bit, the cold behind it. So here you see we're stopping at 6 o'clock Sunday evening. You can see the blue areas are areas that are projected to be above freezing. The purple and that other reddish or purplish color are below freezing. Yeah.
So you can see, especially through Central Mass, Worcester County, that's why we're expecting a lot of freezing rain through the day on Sunday, because we really don't get above into that blue shading above freezing much on Sunday.
And then watch as we get into Sunday night, the cold comes crashing down again. So any water that's left standing in your driveway, or whatever, we talked about it being mostly rain in southeastern Mass, that's all going to freeze up Sunday night. And any snow that falls ain't going anywhere, because the pattern early next week is for yet another blast of Arctic air to come through.
Yep, yeah, it's going to be cold. We have this cold and windy pattern setting in for Monday and Tuesday. The jet stream, you can see, is going to sag south again, so we are looking at a cold start to next week. And then another storm system.
Dare we go there? Like this train of storms just seems never ending. Again, they all coming from way out in the Pacific. We say storm 1 and 2, but by now we're up to like 7, 8, and 9. I don't know. But the next thing to watch really is, we labeled it 3, but it's, who knows again what the number is. Sometime around late Wednesday or Thursday of next week. I've seen some crazy posts on Twitter with just raw model data showing like lots of snow. It's way too early.
Yeah, it's too early, but I would say the potential's there for some plowable snow, right, on Thursday?
There's a certain, the potential's there for a coastal storm of some sort, but let's get through this weekend first. It kind of reminds you a little bit of the winter from 2014-15 with just the amount of action we're having. Yeah. Not anywhere near, of course, the amount of snow we had, but the pattern itself. Like
storm after storm, we have a storm, and then it's like quickly next snow map is we're working on. Then we're forecasting the next storm, and this pattern is going to continue right into next week, potentially another storm then after. Yeah. But anyways, while we're talking about 2014-15, meteorologist Jacob Wyckoff, did a look back. Basically, today is the 10-year anniversary of the final big storm from that stretch. So yeah, let's take a quick look at that if we could.
It's hard to believe, but today marks 10 years since the final major storm of Boston's record-breaking winter in 2015, a season that buried the city in an unbelievable 110.6 inches of snow. From late January to mid-February, storm after storm pounded the region, dumping nearly 2 feet of snow at a time. The relentless cold kept it from melting, turning Boston into a frozen maze of narrow streets and towering snowbanks. Public transit nearly came to a standstill. The city scrambled to find a place for all the excess snow, some of it being dumped into the Boston Harbor and others being placed in the massive snow farm. And roof collapses, those were a growing danger. February alone saw an astonishing 64.8 inches, the snowiest month on record for the city. By the time it was all over, Boston had shattered all-time snowfall records. And today, a decade later, that winter is still the measuring stick for every storm that follows. So as we bundle up this winter, at least we can say it's not 2015.
I'll say that I was here during that winter, but whenever I get some time away from work, I was literally on my roof for hours the ice dams were so insane.
Yeah.
Trying to get the snow off, trying to chip away, and it was unforgettable that winter. And again, the pattern might be similar as far as the action goes, but we're not getting those big nor'easters at least this winter.
Just keeping the snowblowers and shovels, busy this winter, definitely. And, so we have the next weather alert for Saturday and Sunday. And it doesn't start until like Saturday evening and then through the day on Sunday. Sunday just looks messy with that mix of snow changing over to freezing rain and then rain closer to the coast. Quieter Monday and Tuesday, but cold. We're just going to be in the 20s and it will be windy, so feeling colder than that. And then our next storm that we were watching looks like probably Thursday, maybe late Wednesday into Thursday.
Can hardly wait for that one.
Yeah.
I will say if you're watching us on YouTube, would love it if you liked and subscribed to our page. We do this. We've been doing it on a daily basis recently, but when times are quieter, we do still like to do a little weather nerd sessions on here once in a while. So like and subscribe us on YouTube. And Lexie, if you want to continue the conversation, you'll be on in about 15 minutes, actually.
Yes, I'll have your full forecast and news, of course, coming up right at noon. WBZ.
CBS News Boston is now streaming live on our YouTube channel every morning from 7 to 9 a.m. So if you're watching us streaming on YouTube, please like and subscribe to our channel, CBS News Boston.